What if I told you there was an NBA star who physically couldn't be guarded? A player so complete that even Kobe Bryant himself said he had no weaknesses. That player was Brandon Roy. With his insane crossovers, impossible shot making, and clutch game winners, Roy made scoring look effortless. His teammates even nicknamed him the Natural because everything came so easily to Roy. Many believed he was on his way to becoming one of the greatest guards of his generation. But just 4 years into his career, everything changed. At only 26 years old, Brandon Roy was forced to retire before he ever reached his prime. So how did Brandon Roy become one of the most unguardable players in basketball almost overnight? And what tragic condition ended the career of a player who seemed destined for greatness? Well, to understand that, we have to go back to his senior year at Garfield High School in Seattle, Washington. Brandon Roy, after a dominant senior season at Garfield High School, is considering going straight into the NBA. Only, upon discovering it was unlikely he would be chosen outside of the late second round, Roy opted to honor his initial commitment and begin his collegiate career at the University of Washington. However, upon arrival onto campus, Roy was banned from participating before he could even lace his shoes up. But why? Well, Brandon, just like his father, suffered from a learning disability, which resulted in the D1 athlete failing his SAT. Yet, that's not what got him barred. No, Roy was banned due to the fact that after faltering whilst working at a shipping dock in preparation for entering the workforce, if he were to fail yet again, studied so hard that not only did he pass the SAT, but improved his score so much so that the NCAA could only come to one conclusion: Brandon was cheating? So once again, B. Roy dived back into the books, returned, resat the SAT, the final chance he would ever get before his collegiate career would be over forever, and posted an even higher score, finally earning the acceptance from the NCAA. But while he was dominant off the court, how would he perform on it? Brandon, after earning a starting spot during his sophomore season and then averaging 12.8 points on 56% from the field, plus 2.2 assists and 5 rebounds a night as a junior, considered entering his name into the 2005 NBA draft. However, considering two of his teammates, guards Nate Robinson and Martell Webster, had also thrown their names in, Roy, seeing a clear opportunity, opted to remain for his senior year to prove, now being the guy on his Washington Huskies side, that he could be more than just a second round pick, which after averaging 20.2 points, 4.1 assists, 5.6 rebounds, 1.4 steals, plus leading the whole of the United States in field goal percentage at 50%, combined with the fact that Roy had carried his Huskies all the way to the Sweet 16 of the March Madness tournament and was dubbed the Pac-10 Player of the Year, is exactly what had happened.
With the 6th pick in the 2006 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Brandon Roy from the University of Washington.
So now a member of his almost hometown team, could Brandon Roy truly translate his collegiate dominance onto the highest stage of the game? By the way, how frustrating is it having to constantly switch between tab after tab after tab just to keep track of everything within your business? Well, today's video sponsor, Odoo, the all-in-one business management tool, wants to help you simplify your day-to-day workload by keeping all your operations in one easy-to-use application. For example, let's say I run a pizza restaurant. I could run the entire business just using Odoo. I could handle the point of sale to sell my pizzas at the restaurant, use their e-commerce service to collect orders online for delivery, and manage the back-end accounting thanks to the fact that everything is integrated, meaning wherever I make a sale, an invoice is automatically generated in the accounting app. So to get started with Odoo's all-in-one business platform today, click the link in the description to try Odoo today with a 15-day free trial with no credit card required, and you get any single app for free. Thank you to Odoo for sponsoring today's video, which let's get back to.
And I coached the summer league, and I'll never forget I was playing him off the ball, and it was a tight game. And then finally, I had this bright idea to give him the ball, or he just went and got it. He probably went and got it, and he just controlled the whole game. And it was like, this dude's a rookie.
Yeah.
And in real time, I saw it, but I really didn't see it. After the game, Nate McMillan's like, "Mon, that dude's a point guard." And I was like, "Really, Nate?" He's like, "Mon, he just controlled the whole." He's like, Nate's like, "Dude, you're coaching, you don't notice." I'm like, "Nate, I didn't see it." Then I started to see him that way.
Roy, who after being shifted into his preferred position and averaging 19 points on 67% from the field, plus dropping a then Summer League record of 35 points in their final battle, had received a nickname based on how easy everything seemed. The Natural, something that excited not only Blazer fans, but their franchise, who finally saw the potential page turn from their struggles ever since Kobe threw that devastating 2000 Western Conference Finals Game 7 ending lob to Shaq, which eliminated Portland from championship contention and plunged them into 5 straight seasons of what was simply known as the Jail Blazers. But was Brandon Roy really a franchise-altering athlete? November 1st, 2006. Roy, after setting a clear goal for his NBA career,
I didn't win a state championship. I didn't win a national championship. This is like my last chance to win a championship, and that's always been a dream of mine. So I got to do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes to be able to reach that.
And continuing to work obsessively
on a given day on a workout, I try to put up no less than 600 shots.
Was excited to begin his NBA career alongside fellow 2006 draftee power forward LaMarcus Aldridge.
And Roy, what a crossover, and he finishes at the rim. Roy again crosses over on Ray Allen, leaves him in the dust and flips it in with the left. On a high pick and roll. Brandon gets the pick from McGlure, now takes it to the elbow, fades and hits!
The Natural, after scoring an insane 20 points on 62% from the field in his debut, had shown just how easy it really was for the Portland rookie.
Brandon Roy, that's not a bad homecoming, I would think.
Not a bad homecoming at all. I wanted to come in and play hard, have fun, but we wanted to win, and we got that tonight, so I'm extremely excited.
Because in their following battle, Brandon lit the Golden State Warriors up for 19 points, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves for 16, seeing his assistant coach, Monty Williams, begin to realize just how incredibly gifted his first-year player was.
You rarely get a chance to coach a guy that young that has absolutely no weakness in his game.
But during their November 6th battle with the Clippers, thanks to Roy suffering a heel injury that saw him sit out of the following 20 games, many began to wonder if Brandon could return to the same form he had shown throughout his first 3 NBA games. Well, after finding his feet again against the Houston Rockets in their following matchup, the Natural would go on to record his first ever NBA double-double with 16 points and 10 rebounds versus the Toronto Raptors. And then, over the Blazers' next 14, the 6th pick would only continue to impress.
Seeing him, just like how poised he was coming in his rookie year, was just unbelievable. Like he already had matched up with them guys that's already top tier, and he was a rookie. It was unbelievable. Just his talent level, his poise, the way he get to the spot and just raise up, and it's handle, it's handle. So it's handle so good. You might not think it's good, but you ain't gonna be able to riff him or nothing. And his size, and he's big. Post, you can shoot it mid range. He could do it all.
However, on January 21st, 2007, facing off against the Milwaukee Bucks, Roy's rookie campaign took a major turn.
And you're sitting there watching a guy with the ball make defenders quit.
Yeah.
Like he was so patient. He was big, he was strong. He'd put it on your head. He could shoot the 3, he'd shoot the mid-range, up and under, step through, like he had everything. And then he'd go down there and block shots, he could rebound. With
Brandon scoring a new NBA career high of 28 points on 67% from the field, plus pulling down 9 rebounds, not only had his Blazers won, but Roy was beginning to feel truly comfortable and confident on the highest stage of the game, proving this by following his career high up with 25 against the Denver Nuggets, 27 on the Phoenix Suns, 27 versus the Utah Jazz, and 26 on the Warriors Heads, all before doing something even crazier.
And he makes all the right decisions on, should I go into the lane, should I stay back out? You don't see that in a rookie in the NBA.
Eclipsing his career high against the Jazz by adding in 29, and while Portland had only managed to win just 32 games all season, the fact that this was 11 more than the 2005-2006 season was huge. Yet, the best news for the Blazers franchise, their fans, and Brandon Roy arrived shortly after their improved season concluded.
To come out here and win this award, I mean, I can't even, explain how I feel. I mean, it's just a great feeling, and I'm excited, but now that it's over with, I want to get better and be an all-star next year, and I want to be in the playoffs.
So, having proved his collegiate domination could not only be transferred, but improved upon at the highest stage of the game, could the natural now carry his Portland side into the postseason throughout the 2007-2008 campaign? June 28th, 2007. Before their 2006 6th pick could even get that chance, his Blazers, given their 32-50 record, were in attendance at the 2007 draft lottery, holding on to a slim 5.2% chance of earning the league's first pick and getting the rights to select either Ohio State's dominant big man Greg Oden or the Texas Longhorns unicorn 6'9" scorer Kevin Durant.
The second pick in this year's draft will go to the Seattle Supersonics. And that means the number 1 pick will go to the Portland Trailblazers.
Tell us about the prospects of playing with a big, dominant big man like potentially Greg Oden.
I mean, it'd be great to play with a big guy like him. I mean, he changed the game defensively and offensively, and he just can really help a young team grow even better.
But who would the Blazers pick? The interior force or the scoring forward?
With the first pick in the 2007 NBA Draft, the Portland Trailblazers select Greg Oden from Ohio State University.
So now with a clear 3-headed monster of Roy at their point, Aldridge, who after averaging 9 points in his rookie campaign, starting at power forward after the franchise traded away their 2006-07 starter Zach Randolph, and Greg Oden at center, Portland set their sights on one thing and one thing only: the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Yet, before the trio could even spend a single second on court together, Oregon's NBA franchise would receive some devastating news. Greg Oden had been ruled out for his entire rookie season due to knee surgery, meaning Portland's playoff hopes fell into one man's hands: Brandon Roy. But could he deliver? November 10th, 2007. After starting his sophomore campaign by averaging 18.4 points, 5.8 assists, and 3.4 rebounds, Roy was ready here tonight to bring his squad's record back to 500, doing so by incredibly throwing 7 dimes while scoring a new career high of 32 points as Portland moved to 3-3 early in this 2007-2008 season. However, over Portland's next 11 games, with the reduction in Brandon's production to just 14.2 points on 36% shooting from the field, and nights such as his measly 4-point effort in their December 2nd battle against the San Antonio Spurs, resulted in the Blazers only managing to win 2 games and their record falling to 5-12, seeing the playoffs far out of their reach. Therefore, the natural knew what he had to do. December 3rd, 2007. Hungry to avenge his low-scoring night, Brandon Roy came out and added in 7 assists, pulled down 9 boards, plus scored 26 points on 52% from the field. Only this just wasn't enough.
Outlaw, the runner for the win!
An incredible game winner, which became the kindling to what was an insane Blazer Haha, sorry, that was terrible. I'm really sorry about that. Run throughout December, because thanks to Roy doing some insane things.
Roy is one of the coldest basketball players.
Dropping 25 on the Miami Heat in their following game, then 26 versus the Milwaukee Bucks, 29 against the Jazz, plus a 26-point and 11 assist night versus the Nuggets. Portland was continuing to progress towards a postseason berth. Things were going so well, in fact, that even under an intense flu, Roy was still cooking.
Crosses over through the middle, switches to his left, all around Humphries. Are you kidding me?
Adding 25 against Toronto despite his illness and ballooning his averages to an impressive 22.8 points, 6.6 assists, and 5.6 rebounds over Portland's amazing 13-game winning streak, as their record now stood at 18-12. But guess what? Even with Portland's streak ending, Brandon just kept dominating and catching sicknesses. Because after putting up multiple double-doubles, 25 points and 11 assists against the Chicago Bulls, and 33 and 10 against the Raptors, Roy would once again develop an intense flu before their January 27th matchup with the Atlanta Hawks. However, fighting not only a fever but blurry vision and constant dehydration, the natural didn't just score a game-saving 11 points in the fourth quarter, but recorded the game-winning defensive stops. A truly unstoppable first half of this 2007-08 season that saw Roy achieve something he had only dreamed of doing, being named as an NBA All-Star. Yet, despite Portland's draft day gambles of trading for both Brandon and LaMarcus working out, the squad, still young and developing, combined with how deep the Western Conference was, the Blazers, with their 41-41 record, had come 9 games short of the 8th seed and were once again relegated from playoff contention. However, with the impending return of their 2007 #1 pick, not only was Portland's 2008-2009 playoff hopes high, but a deep postseason run seemed to be their destiny. Or was it? November 6th, 2008. After a bumpy 1-3 start to this young season, B-Roy knew he had to begin to turn things around if Portland were to achieve their postseason goals. Only due to a subpar 14-point night, the Blazers were 0.8 seconds away from their 4th loss in just 5 games.
There's Blake to Roy. This is for the win.
An incredible game-winning bucket that sparked the Blazers over their next 21 battles, as thanks to the natural putting up nights such as 30 points against the Orlando Magic, 33 versus the Utah Jazz, and 38 on the Clippers, everything seemed to be working out. But it wasn't just Brandon Roy scoring that truly gave Portland hope. No.
I was like, man, and I remember I called my dad. He was like, you know, how good is he? I was like, we could win a championship. Like, for the first time in my life, playing with him, I was like, we could win a championship. He was that good. Like, and I'm not saying we could win like that year, but having him on the team, we had everything we needed to win a championship, because he filled a lot of those holes. And I was like, man, he was that good. I mean, once he got comfortable in games, I was telling Nate, I'm like, I don't know, I'm kind of bored, because Greg does so much, even defensively. You know, I'm guarding dudes, and you know, our help defense don't have to really help, because he helps everything. Oh, wow. So I started like learning, okay, so I'm gonna leak out. I started getting more transition stuff, because I'm like, Greg's gonna get the board. Yeah. And offensively, he gets tips. He just tips. He doesn't matter. He's pushing dudes, just tipping the ball, keeping plays alive. We got second chance points. And I was like, man, he made the game so damn easy. And me and LaMarcus had to figure out how to play with him, because, you know, even when you get post touches, man, they're doubling, so we're more open, and we're not used to being open. We're used to like having to, you know, carry the load to win games. And now we're winning games more comfortably.
Because finally playing alongside a healthy Odin, Portland headed into this December 18th matchup with the Phoenix Suns at 16-10. However, with the Blazers entering this game on an 11-battle losing streak against the Suns franchise, Roy was hungry to erase this smudge and continue his squad's winning ways.
First quarter closes down. How about Brandon Roy? Yes!
Into the opening. He's done it for years, so it was natural.
Roy for 3! Roy for 3! Yes! 50 points! 5-0 for Brandon Roy!
On a night when Brandon Roy sets an all-time Rose Garden scoring record for a Trailblazer. 52 points in 44 minutes.
Yet, this wasn't the only record Brandon would destroy this season. January 24th, 2009. Battling against the Gilbert Arenas-less Washington Wizards, for once, it wasn't in the scoring column in which Portland star would do his damage, as the final buzzer indicated not only a Blazer victory, but the erasing of Portland's previous single game steals record thanks to Roy's 10-steal night. But of course, it was always what Brandon provided offensively, which was the most valuable to the Blazers.
Roy may be the decoy, it's likely going to be outlined. It is Brandon, 4 seconds. Roy to the middle for the game. Yes! Yes! The buzzer! Yes! Brandon Roy has done it again!
Something that, during his second All-Star weekend, would see him earn incredible praise from the man he had idolized his whole life.
That's a bad boy. And I think making it the second time just kind of solidifies yourself in terms of being one of the premier players in the league. Great voice, high IQ basketball player, understands the size, understands pace and tempo. I mean, he's just he's ahead of his time.
There was a point where Kobe said that Brandon Roy was the second best shooting guard in the league.
To make things even better for Brandon, thanks to the arrival of a mostly healthy Odin and the insane growth shown from LaMarcus Aldridge, Portland's 52-30 record had earned them the 4th seed and a first-round playoff matchup against the Houston Rockets, a series that most assumed Houston would win. Or would they? Game 2. After struggling throughout his first ever postseason experience in the two squads' first battle, the natural was driven to correct Portland's course back in the winning direction here tonight.
Roy with Brooks on him for 3. Got it! Yes! Percentage pass. Battier, the defense, step back by Roy, and he hits it. Long 2. To be there. Now Joel needs some help. Roy, step back 3. Got it!
Doing so by dropping 42 points, a performance that saw the two-time All-Star receive some interesting praise from his rival.
Roy's probably the best player I've played against. To me, he's the best shooting guard.
He's a better player than Kobe Bryant, a better player than LeBron James.
He's the best player I've played against.
However, with the Rockets keying in defensively and limiting Roy to just 24.3 points on 43% shooting over their next 4 games, it was tragically Houston moving into round 2 after game 6. But despite the devastating elimination of the NBA's hottest franchise, with Roy and Aldridge heading into their 4th NBA seasons and Odin his 2nd, many assumed the experience would only allow Portland to take that next step and continue deep into the 2010 playoffs. Or would the first round be the highest high this three-headed monster would ever reach? December 5th, 2009, facing off against the franchise who had crushed their championship hopes for the 3rd time in this young season, in which Portland had won the first matchup but lost the second despite a 42-point effort from Roy, were looking here tonight to avenge their playoff failure, but also continue to add wins to their 12-8 record. Yet, as the final buzzer approached, the Naturals' 22-point 5 assist and 5 rebound effort just wasn't enough. Therefore, Roy only continued to do what he did best, knocking down clutch bucket after clutch bucket. Yet, with the Rockets responding each and every single time, it all came down to this.
Brandon for the lead, scoop shot, yes!
A crazy game winner that seemingly backed up the comments Kobe Bryant had made preseason regarding Roy.
Kobe's like, he got no weakness.
However, this victory was ultimately bittersweet. Greg Oden, early in the first quarter, had been ruled out for the remainder of this 2009-2010 season with a fractured patella. So, with Oden's health in a nosedive, was this the end of the Blazers championship hopes? Or could Roy and Aldridge become a title-winning dynamic duo? Christmas Day 2009.
All I want for Christmas is you.
After missing their pre-Christmas matchup due to a tweaked shoulder, the Natural was hungry here, playing for the first time on December 25th to continue his insane 4th year in the league.
Here's Roy, driving in, jump stops, and knocks down a beauty.
Yeah, he has put this team on his back right now.
Brandon Roy tonight with 33 big ones, splits a pair of defenders off the screen from Howard and laid it up at him with the left hand. Here's Roy for three. Brandon Roy having one of those out-of-body experiences with 41 big ones.
Doing so by dropping an incredible 41 points in their victory, something that Roy would only continue into the new year, pouring in 37 points against the Golden State Warriors, then 32 versus the Los Angeles Lakers, and finally 34 on the Cleveland Cavaliers, carrying his Odinless Blazers side to even higher heights. However, on January 13th, 2010, everything would take a devastating turn for not only Brandon Roy, but the Portland Trail Blazers' future. Because with the Natural exiting this game early due to a tight hamstring, Roy would end up sitting out the following 14 battles, resulting in the All-Star missing out on his third appearance. Yet, even with Brandon returning on February 16th and finally refinding his pre-injury form on March 11th by dropping 41 points against the Warriors and doing this against the Wizards shortly after.
5 seconds. Brandon, long two for the win. Got it!
As the end of their 51 season approached, tragedy struck yet again. Because whilst trying to front the man who had said he was better than his now teammate Metta World Peace, Roy tragically suffered a torn meniscus and was ruled out for the Blazers' round 1 matchup against the Phoenix Suns. Or was he? Game 4. After going down 2-1 against the Suns, Brandon Roy opted to return despite his injury in an attempt to save his franchise. But why?
There was days where, I was really in pain, but I didn't want to hear the radio shows and people going, oh damn, he's hurt again. So I would try to play, and I would keep trying to play because I didn't want to, deal with the naysayers. And then you got to deal with the side of contractual wise. They're like, you gotta pull teeth to get contract.
Yet even with the Natural assisting his squad to tie the series at 2 apiece in Game 4, without their 3-time All-Star at full health, the Suns would ultimately leave the series victorious after Game 6. So would this decision to return early impact Roy's future, or would everything be fine?
I think the biggest thing I've always had to overcome is staying healthy. Just to be able to have a conversation and not bring up a heel or not bring up a growing. There's I have a lot of sleepless nights. Like, man, if I could just only be 100%, I can do this, I can do that.
Brandon Roy, after starting the season slow, averaging just 18.1 points on 40% from the field, began to run into health issues as early as mid-November, quickly returning to the bench with a swollen knee, and while the Natural returned just 3 games later, his comeback was tragically short-lived, as unfortunately, just a month later, the 3-time All-Star once again returned to the injury list, only this time it was seemingly for the remainder of the 2010-11 season due to surgery on both knees. But somehow, Brandon yet again came back towards the end of February, and while B-Roy just continued to do B-Roy things,
Here's Roy. They're trying to get Fernandez open. Roy got the defender in the air, hit the 3!
His measly 8-point average from his return to the end of the regular season showed just how far the star had regressed. To make matters worse, with the final buzzer of Game 2 in their first-round playoff series against the Dallas Mavericks indicating a 2-0 deficit and a 0-point night from Brandon, Roy began to wonder if everything was truly coming to an end. Game 4.
Game 2 was a down moment. I didn't think anything good was gonna come. I was pretty down on myself. But like I said, the next day, so much support. I just wanted to go out there and give myself a chance. And
arriving back to their home court for Game 3, the energy and love provided by Portland's fans fueled Brandon to avenge his horrific first 2 games, resulting in the Natural coming out in Game 3 and adding a vital 16 as the Blazers won their first game and prepared here tonight to tie things up at 2 apiece. Only Dallas, hellbent on moving past this pesky Portland side rocketed out to as much as a 23-point lead as the third quarter was coming to a close. Yet Brandon Roy, desperate to achieve the dream he had outlined to begin his career all those years ago, was never going to give up.
Let's just push and try to put some pressure on them, keep putting pressure on them to see if we can give ourselves a chance.
Can they get something going here at the end of the third? Roy got it! Roy right to the rim. Where has this energy been for Portland? Fortunes here in the fourth compared to the third. Roy, crossover, step back, bucket!
I think I hit a three in the corner. That was the most confidence I shot a basketball in a long time. Like, I just kind of put it up like, oh, that's good.
Double performance for Sean Marion here in game 4. Brandon Roy! Brandon Roy, the three, count it! And there's a foul! Yeah, after checking the video, Roy for the lead, banks it in! 84-82. Kid, remember, no timeouts. Here's Terry. No! Portland wins Game 4.
A shocking 18-point final period from Roy that had spearheaded an insane comeback and tied the series at 2 apiece, only in the same fashion as every other postseason the Natural had appeared in. Their rivals would send Portland packing with back-to-back victories in both Games 5 and 6, devastating everyone. But this wasn't even the worst piece of news Blazer fans would receive in 2011.
Brandon Roy, after just 5 years in the NBA, forced to retire, lacking cartilage in both knees.
Only this wasn't actually true.
I want to welcome Brandon Roy as the newest member of the Minnesota Timberwolves family today.
Because thanks to new plasma surgery, Roy's knees were back? Or were they? As due to a knee-to-knee collision in their final preseason battle, after appearing in just 5 regular season games for the franchise who drafted him, Roy was once again ruled out for the remainder of the season, and the Wolves, knowing full well their guard would never return to full health, would waive Brandon Roy towards the end of the 2012-2013 season, a decision that was tragically the final nail in the coffin of the Naturals' incredible NBA career. Speaking of players whose careers were tragically derailed by injuries, did you know that there was one specific moment that broke not only Gilbert Arenas' basketball career, but also his whole life? To find out exactly what happened and why everything off-court went downhill for Arenas, click the video on your screen right now.